hard places often breed hard people. And Mongolia is one of the most inhospitable land in the world. In this lecture, we will see how people came out of East Asian steppe and built largest contiguous land empire in history. Yes, we are talking about Mongols and Mongol Empire in this lecture. The empire connected the east with the west, the Pacific to the Mediterranean, facilitating exchange of trade, technologies, commodities, and ideologies across Eurasia. So, who were these Mongols? Mongols were nomadic people. They were nomads of the Asian steppe who moved according to the seasons and lived in temporary camps. Some of the Mongols were pastoralists while others were hunter gatherers. The pastoralists tended horses, sheep, cattle, goats, and camels, and they nomadized in the steppes of Central Asia in the area of the modern state of Mongolia. While the hunter gatherers they resided to the north of the pastoralists in the Siberian forests. Mongol didn't take to farming like Turks and ethnic and language ties united the Mongol people, but the scarce resources meant that their society was divided into patrilineal lineages. The richer families were larger, possessed more animals and pasture lands, and therefore they had many followers and have more influence in local politics. Periodic natural calamities, either unusually harsh cold winters when stored provisions ran out, or drought, which parched the grasslands, would lead to conflict over pasture lands and predatory raids in search of livestock. Before the year 1200 CE, the Mongols were fragmented, moving about in small bands headed by a chief or khan and living in portable felt dwellings. The history of Mongols is still debated. Early history of Mongols. At the beginning of 10th century, the Proto-Mongolic Khitan people formed an empire called the Great Liao or Khitan Liao dynasty. But by 1125 CE, they were defeated by Chinese Jin dynasty, and the Khitans moved to establish new Khitan state in called Western Liao. Different nomadic tribes united in different tribal confederations. The Mongolian plateau was occupied mainly by five powerful tribal confederations that were Karaites, then Khamag Mongols mean whole Mongol, then Nemans and Margits and Tatars. So these were five main the tribal confederations. The Jin emperors, following a policy of divide and rule, encouraged disputes among the tribes, especially between the Tatars and Mongols, in order to keep the nomadic tribes distracted by their own battles and thereby away from the Jin empire. One of the clans in Khamag Mongol was Borjigin, and its representatives were elected Khans of Union multiple times in 12th century. This Khamag Mongols were having long time rivalry with Tatars confederacy. This struggle weakened Mongols and their confederacy almost ceased to exist in second half of 12th century. Ye Sugui, who was leader of Borjigin tribe, was again trying to reunite tribes. In 1271, he arranged marriage between his 9-year-old son and daughter of nearby clan named Borte. So the name of Yesugui's son was Temujin. He was born in 1162 CE, and in 1271 his marriage was arranged to improve the relations with a nearby clan. And at that time his wife Borte was 10-year-old. During the wedding, Yesugui was poisoned by Tatars, and Temujin's claim as chief of his own tribe was rejected, and Temujin was exiled with his family. Next 6 years, Temujin lived with poverty, enslaved. Meanwhile, his wife was also kidnapped. But then he started to form his tribe with the help of blood brother Jamuka and another Karel tribe leader Togril Khan. Temujin and Jamuka they raided other tribes together, but eventually they had falling out. Jamuka supported traditional Mongolian aristocracy while Temujin gave position of power to capable people outside his tribe. In 1187, Jamuka defeated Temujin. The history of next 10 years of Temujin's life between 1187 to 1197 is not known, but in 1297 CE, Temujin defeated Tatars. The leaders of Tatars were executed while non-aristocrats were invited to join his ranks. He delegated authority based on skill and loyalty rather than tribal affiliation or blood. Temujin revolutionized the steppe world. Each victory brought more warriors to his side because he used to distribute the war spoils between the soldiers and their families. By 1206, Temujin had managed to unite or subdue the Merkits, Nemens, Mongols, Karaites, Tatars, Uyghurs, and other smaller tribes in his rule. This was a monumental feat. It resulted in peace between previously warring tribes and a single political and military force. The union became known as the Mongols. So, in 1206, Temujin was the dominant personality in the politics of steppe land. So, the assembly of the Mongol tribes chiefs called Kurultai, they declared Temujin as Great Khan of Mongols, and he was given the name Chengiz Khan. Chengiz is Turkic word that means universal. So in 1206, Temujin became Chengiz Khan or the Oceanic Khan or universal ruler, and this position was approved by Kurultai. So you can see this is Mongol Empire in 1207 CE. All tribes have been brought under control. Genghis Khan had reorganized the Mongol people into a more effective, disciplined military force than that facilitated the success of his future campaigns. Genghis forbade looting of his enemies without permission, and he implemented a policy of sharing spoils with his warriors and their families instead of giving it all to the aristocrats. Genghis rewarded those who had been loyal to him and placed them in high positions as head of army units and households, even though many of them came from very low ranking clans. Khan attempted to further unify his rule by insisting that the only spoken Mongol language was made into a written one using the script of Uyghur Turks. Genghis Khan also created lasting law called Yasa. This included outlawing the tradition of kidnapping women. The kidnapping of women had caused feuds among the Mongols, and as a teenager, he had suffered from the kidnapping of his own wife, Borte. Genghis Khan declared all children legitimate, whomever the mother. He made it a law that no woman would be sold into marriage. The stealing of animals had caused feud among Mongols, so Genghis made it a capital offense. Temujin regulated hunting, improving the availability of meat for everyone. He introduced record keeping. He created official seals. He created a supreme officer of the law. All these things created order that strengthened his rule and improved his ability to expand the territory. Communication was greatly helped by the establishment of YUM. What was YUM? YUM was a network of staging posts which messengers could use for resupply as they rode across the state. Military reforms by Changgis among the Mongols and many other nomadic societies as well. All the able-bodied adult males of the tribe bore arms. They constituted the armed forces when the occasion demanded. But the unification of the different Mongol tribes and subsequent campaigns against diverse people introduced new members into Genghis Khan's army. That complicated the composition of this relatively small and differentiated body into an incredibly heterogeneous mass of people. Genghis Khan worked to systematically erase the old tribal identities of the different groups who joined his confederacy. His army was organized according to the old steppe system of decimal units. 10 soldiers they constituted a smaller unit called Airban, then 10 Arbans constituted Jagun, then 10 Jaguns constituted Mingan, and 10 Mingans, one Tumen. So Tumen is having 10,000 soldiers. So you can compare this Arban with modern day infantry section, Jagun as company, Mingan as battalion, Tumen as div. So one man deserted other nine in if one man deserted this section or smallest unit, remaining nine of his unit will put to death. Commanders of Airborne, Jagun and Mingan were to be chosen by the man himself, and the commander for these two men would be chosen by Khan. This chain of command provided flexibility, discipline, loyalty, and vitality to provide sophisticated maneuvers. In the old system, the clan and the tribe would have coexisted within the decimal units, but Genghis Khan stopped this practice. He divided the old tribal groupings and distributed their members into new units. Any member who tried to move from his allotted group without permission received harsh punishment. Largest unit of soldiers, that is two men, now included fragmented groups of people from a variety of different tribes and clans. So this provided them with a new identity, and that was derived directly from its progenitor Genghis Khan. Nomads were conventionally at a loss against fortified encampments, but Genghis Khan learned the importance of siege engine and naphtha bombardment very quickly. His engineers prepared light portable equipment, which was used against opponents with devastating effect. Genghis' first target after becoming Great Khan was the Jin state in northern China. The speed of the Mongol cavalry and the terror tactics when dealing with captured cities reaped dividends, and the internally fractured Jin state was forced to retreat to the south. The simultaneous target was the Tangut state of Xizia, and similarly incapable of stopping Chengiz' relentless progress across East Asia. The third target in this period was Song dynasty, and the Song provided more resilience despite Chengiz sacking many of their cities, but their time will also come. By 1219 CE, northern Korea had been attacked as Chengiz chased down the troublesome Khitan tribe who had fled there. Then, in 1218, the Kara Khitai, who controlled the Tianshan mountains, they were defeated. So this led Mongol dominion up to Amu Darya and the state of Khwarezm and Transoxiana. Genghis Khan now turned his attention to Western Asia. Initially, Genghis Khan wanted to maintain good relations with Khwarezm Shah, Sultan Muhammad. So he sent his envoys to Khwarezm Shah to improve the trade tide. But Khwarezm Shah executed Mongol envoys. Because of this, Genghis Khan became enraged. In the campaigns between 1219 and 1221, a Mongol army of 100,000 men swept across Khwarezm Empire, capturing notable cities Uttar, Bukhara, Samarkand, Balkh, Marv, Nishapur, Herat. Either they surrendered or they were forced to surrender and pillaged. Mongol forces in pursuit of Sultan Muhammad pushed into Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan defeated the Russian principalities there and encircled the Caspian Sea while returning. This campaign didn't include in this campaign no new land included in empire, but Mongols got info about people, landscape, and Europe. Another wing followed Sultan Muhammad's son Jalaluddin into Afghanistan and the Sindh province. In 1221 CE, the Mongols swept across the northern Afghanistan. So the ASEAN world had been turned upside down in less than 2 decades. Cities who surrendered without fight were spared. The Mongols couldn't control such a vast population, so they used practical brutality as their primary method to subjugate a nation. They massacred all people irrespective of religion and wanted everyone to know it, so to prevent the rebellion. They spared engineers, artists, merchants, doctors, priests, administrators, and they were asked to join Mongols. Genghis Khan died in August 1227 CE at age of 66, having spent most of his life in military combat. His successors would ensure the Mongol New World Order would far outlast its creators. So you can see in this map, the green color shows areas under control of Genghis Khan when he died in 1227 CE, and this pink color are the areas added by his successors. So we will continue this Mongol Empire next.